do better than that. You're looking at 19 years of education on this stage. Oh. And the bitch ain't even been to jail yet, so I'm good. Yes, God is good. And I ain't gonna lie, a couple of times I should have went to jail, but goddamn. Every day I swear to God, I say the same prayer. God, Father God up above in the sky, please let the sub find somebody else to come to this damn job today. But unfortunately, I always call me back. You know, and what's sad is every morning I say the same shit. I'm quitting. How many of you have quit your job before you even got in your car to go to the job? I quit my job every morning. Then Wells Fargo Home and Mortgage remind me the reason why I need to go back. That's some fucked up shit. But teachers, tonight and this tour is about honoring you, because nobody can do what you do, like you do, and how you do it. Here's what it says, Veronica.
Their needs are not being met emotionally or academic. You got me on the football team, but I know I'm not the best athlete. Outside of this, coach, I get you pushing me to be a better athlete, but I need that same pushing to be a better scholar, to develop skills. I need that mentorship, not just in athletics, but just in how to become a man, how to become a stronger person.
Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Welcome to We Work Every Day. 7 days a week, cause we striving towards a better day. Don't cut me down for showing my true colors. Love me for me, cause I show love to others. This is for entrepreneurship, for Black Lives Matter. This is for the ones who are forgotten. I pray we never go backwards. This is for pushing forward in the face of adversity. Thank you, God, for protection when the world was cursing me. This is for strength, courage, and wisdom. They can't keep us in shackles. You're the one that could change the trajectory of those family matters. Be the first college grad, be the first millionaire. Be your own wildest dreams, cause the world ain't fair.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. I am Dr. Kiki here, your host, and we have none other than Jennifer Jermany. She is a teacher, an educator, a comedian, performer. She has dedicated her life to educating students in urban areas. We first met on the campus of MB Smiley High School, where I was teaching biology and she was teaching speech communications, and she has continued down that path, entertaining and educating the future. So we want to turn the stage over to Jennifer Jermany, and we want her to tell us about yourself. What brought you to the work that you're currently doing in this area of entertainment and education? And just, tell us about, and we can't leave out, she is a member of Delta Sigma Theta. All right. Let's not get carried away here. All right.
Well, just to give you a background about myself, I didn't choose education. I was not that kid that you would imagine could be a teacher, because I was too busy trying to be funny. I was too busy being theater. I grew up thinking I was going to be a phenomenal Black actress. That was me. But as I grew and developed and worked with the legendary Dr. T.F. Freeman and my profound professors at the Texas Southern University, I start seeing the power of education. And I start seeing the power of education in every aspect of every career path, even in drama, even in theater, even in stand-up comedy. Education is important. And I graduated, I needed a job, and they were hiring. And I was like, well, Dad, I'm really going to be a comedian and I really don't need a job. And my dad was like, no, you need a job. And I kid you not, day one, I started working at a charter school. I wanted to run. But then something in me said, wait a minute. And each and every one of these kids in this classroom I see something in them that reminds me of me. I see the need where these kids not only need to be educated to, they need guidance. They need someone to not only educate them about academics, but life. These kids just need somebody. And being a woman that I have no children, they became my children. And next thing I know, I was doing comedy, struggling to get to work in the mornings. But I felt like, hey, every Monday through Friday, I have a first period that's waiting for me to get there, a second period. And for some reason, the students in my class became a major part of my life. And there have been times I had to sacrifice doing shows or work it out. But one of the club promoters said it best, Mark Babbitt, when are you going to let those kids go and just do this full time? I said, as long as there's a need for me to work, especially with children of color, I don't want to leave them by themselves because I have a fear that nobody's going to give them what I could give. So, and then the kids love having a teacher that's an entertainer. They love my classroom management. They think I'm going to roast everybody. And it's like, don't say that and be good because she's going to get you. And I just laugh. And they love seeing my shows. When I was on tour with the Teachers Only Comedy tour with Eddie B, those were my production assistants. They learned how to burn, they showed me how to burn DVDs and make my own DVDs and manufacture this. They were the people that designed my t-shirt. So I made my students a part of my career path. And actually, when I do comedy, I'm just reciting the stories that I deal with every day with these kids, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I just fell in love with it. And I just feel more people need to give back and make some sacrifices if we want our children of color to do better.
I love that story and your testimony. And, I can truly understand giving back to the community. How do you balance that? You talk about when you go on tour with the
Mhm.
teachers only tour and then going back into the classroom. How have you been able to manage and balance that? Because being a teacher, it is a challenge to get the lesson plans and then contacting the parents, building the relationships, and then you're also getting your material together and getting on the plane and all. So how have you been able to juggle those two worlds?
At one point, I wasn't managing well. Um, I was oversleeping. I'm like, oh shoot, I got a class. Um, I've learned to balance it by simply asking for help. I've learned to balance it by not only asking for help administratively and being open and honest. Um, any teaching assignment I've ever had, one thing I've always told them that comedy is me. I'm very open about that because that's the one thing that I say I do for me and my sanity. But what I do to balance classes, my classes actually help me. My colleagues help me. I could not do this first, number one, without the grace of God. That's period. He has blessed me to have administrators that understand and that love coming to shows. It's like, look at you, oh, your teacher's doing this. Well, my teacher is doing a show at the Smart Financial in Sugarland, and she's on the teacher's own. So it's like bragging rights to them. But we build a relationship and a rapport, like with my current supervisor. Um, if I have to leave early, somebody from my area helps to cover classes. They work with me. But one thing I always do, because I'm like a mother with newborn kids, I don't like everybody with my kids. So my kids, we develop the type of rapport. They know what my standards are. They know what my expectations are. And I'm honest with them. They go, Miss Jermany, you got a show this Friday? Yes. Did you? So, and they also have been major helps for me. I can bring my stuff in, go get the stuff from the car because Miss Jermany's going to leave early today. and they'll help me count out merchandise. They'll help me do, and by me being a comedian, I'm bringing my comedian career into the classroom and showing them how they can make money. I have kids that can do some phenomenal things. I can't edit video. I have kids. That's my production team. I pay them to edit video. I pay them to come up with marketing ideas. I paid them. And they were like, "You're really going to pay us?" Yes, because I want you to understand that you can have 5 things you want to be in life and you can do all 5. It's about time management. It's about your work ethic. It's about building relationships to have people help you. Like when they do my merchandise and count it and organize it, here you go. That's your this is your pay. So now I have kids that'll come to me, "Miss Jermany, can I help out?" So I've learned to balance it by asking for help and allowing people to help me and being honest. And when I do miss a day or something, I always find a way to give back. If I miss something, if I had to leave early on Friday, as soon as I get back on Monday, I stay late and work extra to put in because I always want to be a team player. And then with the comedy clubs, they have really worked with me because whenever they have engagements where they want somebody that can do clean comedy, gospel comedy, educational comedy, I'm their go-to girl. And then also, they know that if I have a class, they know how to schedule my shows. If my kids have a UIL engagement, they know that's important to me because I love competing in speech and debate because we kick butt. They know, "Oh, Miss Jermany, can you do this weekend show?" No, I have a UIL event and I'm dedicated to that. Or, "Miss Jermany, can you, if you missed the first show, can you do the second show and then do the Sunday show?" Yeah, I can do that. So now they'll work the heck out of me in the summer, or doing like the breaks, but they understand and they actually support what I do. The Houston Improv has been magnificent to me. They allow my students to actually come and view a show and they had the opportunity to perform at the Houston Improv. So, to my students who are interested in being in entertainment or writers or poets, they've already start building their resume from my class. They can say, "Now, I've already have experience because I performed at the Houston Improv." "Oh, really? Video editing?" "Oh, yeah, I have tons of experience because I worked with Miss Jennifer Jermany from the Teachers Only Comedy to a Funny Girl Entertainment." So they're building their resume. So by making everybody a partner has truly helped me to balance it. Now, am I tired when I'm done? Yes, ma'am. But the thing is, I don't care how tired I am. I'm passionate about both. And a wise man once said, "When you do something that's your passion and that you love, I don't care how hard it may be, or how many sacrifices you make, or how tired you may be. If it's your passion, it's your drive, you're going to find the spirit, you're going to find the energy to get up and do it." But I've been truly blessed. And my kids always, when they get ready to fill out job applications, they always use my company as their first job. So, hey, you're building a resume.
I love it. And I think about that in terms of what education at one point was for the African American child. It was experience.
Mm-hmm.
Experience was our education. And I've always been told that experience is the best teacher.
Yep.
And at one point that's all that we had. And that's how our companies were built. And that's how the majority of our wealth over the years has been built. It has been built through experience. I have a very good friend. She said she didn't know her mom couldn't read till she was an adult because her
Mm-hmm.
mom could count money. Her
That's it. That's it.
her name is Dr. Dr. Carol, and she said her mom could count money. Her mom could sew. Her mom had a trade. Her mom ran a grocery store, and it wasn't till she was an adult that she didn't know her mom couldn't read because she could count money. And what you are instilling in your kids is the fact that they can be multifaceted and they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do one thing, and they are learning that through you. And I appreciate you.
If I may chime in here, That's one of the biggest things that's missing, especially in our urban city educational environments. Exposure. The students have to have exposure in order to get and learn the experience that they need to develop those competent skills to succeed. I used to think of field trips as, oh, this is just time to get out and go have fun. But now I look at field trips completely different. A lot of our kids have a lack of exposure. So it's hard for them to see past the here and the now. They want to do a lot of things, but because they haven't been exposed and they haven't had that experience with it, they have no idea on how to even start. Right now, we're working on a Black History Museum because, COVID has ruined a lot of things, and the storm. We have kids. I said, and my thing is, I love technology. I'm trying to get my kids to, hey, technology is great, but guess what? Using your own mind. Google does not have to plan your thoughts. And we've been working on building a museum at our school. It has amazed me how many students have just discovered that they can draw and they can be creative and that they can write poetry and they can do all these different things. One young lady, she says, I'm going to be the director of the museum. I said, what made you decide to do that? She said, I looked at the museum in France. Did you know that the museum name just slipped my mind? That's the largest museum in the world. So just because we started building our museum and she learned about the African American Museum in DC, she took it because she got that exposure to it. She took and learned about the Del Orsay Museum. She learned about the other museum, that's the huge one. And she learned a job responsibility. I said, well, what is the director of the museum? Well, the director of the museum have to do this, and I want to do it. And you know what I said? You go. You write up your plan. But because through this project, they were exposed. And because they had the opportunity to work and build, they got that experience. So now they're learning some skills that by hands-on. We are hands-on. A lot of times we have to coach and teach to the different learning styles. And I'm learning a lot of these children are hands-on. They're visual and you have to put their hands to it. And that exposure and that experience. And then when they're doing these things, they're feeling successful. If I'm not exposed and I never get the opportunity to have experiences, I'll never get the confidence in my skills. And then I'll still be wondering, how do I get to the level of saying that I'm successful? So I try to bring everything into the classroom from real world. And they always talking about the coin. We got to get the coin. Well, let me show you how to get this coin. You don't have to be the basketball player. I'll tell them, if you want to be a football player, that's great. But do you know who makes the most money? Let me tell you about these other jobs and responsibilities. And people that I've worked with and that I've met, I bring those experience and people into my classrooms. I have a student that's in the NBA, and I had some kids that thought that they could just half step and and they had their own mindset of how the NBA works. But when I had my student who's in the NBA to talk to them, they were like, wait a minute, are you serious? Are you for real? And so all these people that I run across through entertainment that do sports marketing, that's doing Billy Sorrells, I love to death. He came and gave a phenomenal speech and linked education to being a comedian. And then he also let us have a contest to see who was the funniest student. So by bringing these things to school, we're developing those skills. And we have to understand, we don't have the traditional students of yesteryear. I believe all students are from the great state of Missouri. Show me how to do it. And you got to that's how you make entertainment. And I got a term, edutainment, education through the art of entertainment. The art of just using entertainment to teach people. And what's crazy is people are being entertained and learning at the same time and not realizing it until after it's over. So, hey, more people need to hone in onto those skills and do that.
And that's an excellent segue into the next question because, I received my doctorate from Texas Southern, and one thing that Dr. Post always talked about was that there was never a desire to educate the slave. And from that point on, the descendants of slaves have consistently struggled in our current education system because it wasn't designed for them. It wasn't designed for them to be successful. So, all of the things you're talking about in terms of experience, that's how the slave learned. They learned hands on, touching, feeling through experience. And that's not how our current system was designed, right? So, I lead in with that statement to this question. What are some of the current challenges that you see in this era of education in relation to African American males in this society? And I'm gonna let you answer it.
I see tons. First of all, with African American and children of color, period. Let's start with the overall, the period, then I'm going to go into the males. If I'm a child and every story I read is about Willie the Whale, or Sarah from River Oaks, I'm not reading anything, or my life experience is never discussed in the classroom. Why should I listen? We're constantly pushing the narratives of the experience of the Anglo-Saxons, Europeans, and everybody else. But what about that Latino child? What about that Black child? Because without including their stories in math and the roles they play in math and how math is an important part of their culture, an important part of their walk of life, the literature that we're reading, the history. Oh my God, now that's something I'm really upset with. I don't believe that Black history should just be taught in February. I get it. There is a curriculum that you must follow. But I need teachers to be more daring. If I'm talking about fiction stories, I'm going to use whatever story they have on that curriculum. But go back and look at the audience, the demographics that you teach. Find some African American stories. Find some Hispanic American stories. Because what's happening is by not teaching them and bringing those stories into the classroom, you're telling those kids indirectly that this was not for you and that your people don't do that. And then later on in life, you found out there is a plethora of African American writers. Why did I not hear about them when I was in school? I had a situation where when I worked in North Forest, and they're constantly evaluating and looking at people's classes. We had somebody, as one of the people who were evaluating the classes, came in and said it wasn't an employee of North Forest. Let me say that. Question: why was the teacher teaching about what they thought was Black history when it wasn't Black History Month? And the teacher had explained to them, I'm well aware it's not Black History Month, but we're talking about elements of fiction. I used the stories that were given to me in the samples and the stories we were supposed to cover. But in order to make a direct impact and to connect and inspire these students, I have to find out some things from their culture that they can relate to for them to get that understanding. When it comes to African American males, we're making tons of mistakes in the area. We're quick to coach them toward an athletic sport. We have high standards when it comes to these athletic things, but we lower the standards when it comes to academics. Don't get me wrong. There are a plethora of intelligent young Black men that still are in the discovery stage of their life. They have no idea how intelligent they are, because sometimes our educational system is set up to dummy down things for the Black male so they can develop a complicit way of thinking. So, well, this is what they say I can do, and that's all I can do. They never pushed me to go past this, so I'm just going to stay in this realm. We don't push our young Black boys to experience and diversify career paths. For some reason, and then some educators, and one of the things I learned with the Teachers Only tour, I was pulled aside a ton of times by non-African American teachers and teachers who were not Hispanic. And the number one question they always wanted to ask in private: how do you educate or work or reach children of color? I'm struggling. And all my classes that I took at all these major universities, they didn't teach me this. So now they have me in this inner city school. How do I reach them? And the first thing I tell them is, number one, do away with every stereotype that you have developed, that you've heard, that you subconsciously have in your mind. Stop thinking that Black children can't and Black men can't. I don't care what the statistics say. If you teach to that child like he can't, he ain't. Because you don't believe in him and they don't know to believe in themselves. I had a young man who was, the school considered him to be the most terrible child on the planet. And this young man found out that in North Forest, and people say what they want about North Forest ISD, that was one of the greatest places that I've worked because they believed in exposing their children and giving them that experience. He heard about that we were going on an international trip. He said, I want to go. I was like, oh, Jesus. Baby, it's too late because we've already, how much the trip cost? And I told him how much the trip cost. And so he said, well, I can bring that money. I called the parent because I didn't want to tell him no. But I was deep down inside something said, oh, this kid terrorizes every teacher up here and he wrecks my nerves. Do I want to go to France and London, England with him? I said, somebody did it for me, so I got to do it for somebody else. I called the parent. The parent spoke with me and she said, and you want to take my child somewhere? For real? You want to take him? Do you know how many discipline referrals he had? Do you know? I said, yeah, he want to go. I said, but ma'am, here's the thing. The trip is $2,100 and I have to have half of that by this Friday. I'm thinking there's no way this parent is going to bring me this money. I kid you not, the parent met me in the office with the principal and the principal, and you want to take him somewhere? She was like, here's the money. The woman brought the money cash. And she's not going to have the rest of it by next Friday. And the boy said, I guess I'm going. But the beautiful thing about this experience was, I don't care how he behaved in anybody else's classroom, when he got on this trip, this was an eye-opening experience. Here's a young Black boy where all other teachers gave up on him. He's going to be a statistic. Stop teaching these children and the system, and unfortunately, our educational system, sometimes we teach indirectly without, coming out and saying it. Black boys are statistics. Sometimes the way we educate them and teach them, how we're not exposing them and encouraging them, how we're not pushing them and to diversify their thinking, we're teaching them that they can't and that they are statistics. I watched this young man who had that school year 17 referrals go to both of these countries. I didn't tell him to read for the trip because at this point he was a late arrival to the trip. This boy made it his business to go and learn something. He bought his own French book. So when we were going to the different museums, I know about this. The kid got so excited when we went to the gravesite of William Shakespeare. The boy started yelling, this Shakespeare? This Shakespeare? I was like, shh, you can't say that. This Shakespeare. And then next thing I know, this child is reciting all the different plays. And he wrote As You Like, Romeo and Juliet. And I'm like, whoa. This is amazing. So the educational system is failing because number one, it's not including and diversifying its ancillary or the materials that it uses to educate people. You have to include every walk of life. One of the things I learned was if I got a majority Hispanic class in my classroom, I'm going to make sure I'm going to find, if we're talking about leadership, I'm going to go find some Hispanic leaders so that they know that they have been leaders. Our young Black men need mentors. We have to be able, as educators, period, to do a better job at listening to these children, and especially listening to our young Black males. I don't think the educational system is listening to their needs outside of the complicity of you're an athlete. You can, out of stereotype, it's like almost we have our kids in a box. Not knowing that some of these kids are brilliant and don't know that they're brilliant, because what we're doing is we're educating them to be complicit to what I say you can do or what the statistics say you are. And we're not listening to our young males and their needs. And not only with our young males, with children of color, period. If I hear one more story about Willie the Whale, I had one kid that had a math problem about some apples. My kids were laughing because it was something dealing with a fraction and a half apple. Who would have a half an apple? Why would you buy a half an apple? So we thought, I said, get back to the story. Okay. I can't think of the professor's name. When we used to do tax, he came to our school. He said, I want y'all to, I developed my own program with the reading, the ELA portion. He took the same TEACS objective, used the same state curriculum, the same district curriculum, and he wrote stories that caught the interest of children of color. The whole program. And what we did was one day we did what the state gave us. And then one day we said, you know what, let us get this story that this man, this program he used. The kids did better on the program that this professor came in and gave, because why? They made the stories relatable. They were culturally diverse. They had in his program, it was truly student-centered because he saw the lack of diversity in the teaching material when it comes to teaching children of color. And I kid you not, they had a story in reference to Tupac Shakur. Used the same elements as another story that they used on another Anglo person. The kids were interested in that more and did better. And until the educational system learns to stop what I call educating down or being complicit or indirectly teaching our kids to be complicit to what society says they are, we're going to continue to struggle. And unfortunately, men of color and Black men are going to continue to digress educationally. And it's sad. Now, one of the remedies I propose outside of diversifying educational material and catering to the various, to the student needs, we need to develop a program to encourage young Black men and men of color to come into schools and not just be the coach. We young Black men need to see that I can be a professor, I can be a teacher, I can be this. If you're constantly shoving me, Black people can play basketball. I love Michael Jordan, I love Kobe Bryant, I love LeBron James. But less than 3% of people make it to the NBA. Show me what this kid can do outside of that. The kids need to see more male teachers in classrooms, because that male teacher can reach and talk to that young male and can develop an understanding, and life experience will directly correlate to what that child's going through, what that young man is going through that I may not get. I'm not a man. So we need to really encourage more men of color into the classrooms.
You know, it's amazing that you would say that because I used to volunteer to present. There was a program sponsored by Thurgood Marshall, and it was a teaching institute, and it was offered at none other than Texas Southern University. I want to say Misha and Winetta Jones Allen, they used to sponsor the program in the summer. And I went to present at the program, and there were young men in the program, and the whole goal was to get more African Americans into teaching, and they had a target that year to get more Black males into teaching. And I questioned the young men in the classroom, and I asked them, "How many Black male teachers have you had since you have been in school?" And the young Black males in the class, they said, "You know, I've been in school, I'm getting a bachelor's degree. And the whole time I've been in school, I've had 2 Black male teachers."
Mm-hmm.
The whole time they had been in school. And they themselves, although they were in the program, were not certain that they were going to stay in teaching. They were saying they were going to go into it for a little while until they made up their mind in terms of the profession that they were going to pursue. So you are, and I want to say those 2 Black males in education anyway, and most of the males in education are more administrative, not necessarily in the instructional part. So, you know, it's ironic that you would say that.
And that's great that we're elevating to the administrative side of things, but we need those male men of color in the trenches with women.
You're right. You're absolutely right, because they need to see the intellect that goes into that part, that they themselves can be masters of the content and that themselves can embody that. So you're absolutely right.
And then and not to disrespect coaches. Coaches do a wonderful job with what they do. I love coaches because that's the best way to discipline any child. I'm gonna tell you, coach. I'm gonna tell you, tennis coach. That's great, but the impact that a male teacher inside, especially a male teacher of color, inside of that classroom can serve as not only that teacher, but that mentor. Sometimes people have this mentality that young Black men, and even with Black girls, for some reason, they think we're so tough. We don't hurt. I remember I played Black Men Cry in the Dark. But our young Black men are acting out now because they're hurting. Their needs are not being met emotionally or academically. You got me on the football team, but I know I'm not the best athlete. Outside of this, coach, I get you pushing me to be a better athlete, but I need that same pushing to be a better scholar, to develop skills. I need that mentorship, not just in athletics, but just in how to become a man, how to become a stronger person.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Continue to support Workshop Wednesday and continue to encourage all those that you see to press forward during this time. Thank you for tuning in. Dr. Kiki signing out. Stay tuned on next week where we will bring you more of H-Town's finest. Take care. God bless.
This is for strength, courage, and wisdom. They can't keep us in shackles. You're the one that could change the trajectory of those family matters. Be the first college grad. Be the first millionaire. Be your own wildest dreams, cause the world ain't fair. I am the greatest. I am